Daniel, who's their tag is Darwin to Jesus, so that's fun.
Oh
Says,
boy.
as an atheist, I thought the God of the Old Testament was totally immoral, but when I discovered faith and recognized the Christian God's existence, I faced a tough question. Without a divine standard, weren't my moral judgments just opinions? I realized I had no ground to judge God's actions. Either morality is subjective and just an opinion, or it comes from a perfect creator.
So how about this one? Morality is an opinion. It's an opinion held by you, and also an opinion held by your God. And your original opinion was the correct one.
Yeah, so what I find...
Because divine command theory is still just God's opinion is this.
So, yeah, it is, absolutely. Yeah, morality is subjective specifically because, like, if subjects don't exist, then there is no morality. So, like, it is, the existence of morality is dependent on the existence of subjects, so it has to be subjective. But putting that aside, I found it quite telling. It was like, he had to convert to Christianity first before he recognized the problem with the atheist moral system. So it's not that there's an inherent problem with the atheist moral system that he realized was a problem, and then that caused him to convert to Christianity.
He took on a belief, and now it has baggage.
Took on a belief, and that belief requires you to think whatever about atheist moral system, and so he thought whatever about atheist moral system. So he abandoned thought. He abandoned moral thought in favor of God said it, therefore it's good.
He took the easy answer.
Yeah.
He took the easy answer, and it shows. This reminds me of the dude who used to work on my computers, who I haven't spoken to in years, and I don't know what's going on with him. But his daughter began dating a Catholic back when I still would go over to his house for computer repairs. And I remember the boyfriend specifically saying in these exact words, I think ultraviolence is fine so long as God ordains it. And I didn't know how to respond to that in somebody else's house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like oh boy. There's some implications to that.
There indeed are. And Oliver Burdick says, Muslims worship a god, Hindus worship a god, atheists worship a god, Christians worship God. So...
no, your god is still a god. Until any of them have been proven, they're all opinions.
Well, also, Muslims worship the same god as the Christians. It's like Old Testament God is the same god. I know they're like...
Is Allah.
There are differences, but like, there are differences between Christians as well, but they don't call them different gods. So, like, but the differences between the Christian God and the Muslim God are of the same degree. So,
also,
yeah,
atheists,
the same God.
Atheists also don't worship a god.
No,
unless the god is like my girlfriend's thighs, in which case, sure, I'm willing to accept that is a god that I have. But that's not the same thing.
Also, Hindus don't worship a god; they worship many gods.
There's quite a few.
Yeah, depending on which version of Hinduism you're looking at, there are potentially millions of gods in Hinduism. But yeah, no, this actually kind of reminds me of the early days of the internet. If we go back there, back when I was a good little Christian boy, I joined several Christian internet relay chat channels. And in one of them, I very distinctly remember a Muslim showed up at one point accusing the Christians of polytheism because they believe in the Trinity, but Muslims have the one God. So, like, you ask a Muslim about this statement, they're going to be like, Christians worship multiple gods. And as a Christian, I thought that was ridiculous. How can you not see that the Trinity is three gods, like it's one God in three persons or whatever? But as an atheist, like, I look back on it and be like, no, that was just semantics to get out of the fact that you're polytheist. It's multiple gods. And that's not even getting into the fact that Satan is the evil god, the saints are the demigods, the angels are demigods, the demons are evil demigods.
It's just semantically changing the names of them. Also, the whole, like, what's funny, there was a person who I did a debate with a long time ago, who was Catholic, and when I was a Christian, I was a Southern Baptist Christian. Now, technically, I was non-denominational, but I'm sorry, non-denominational is just Southern Baptist 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And I remember the idea of worshiping a god was muddled down so badly when I was being taught religion in school, because I went to a Christian private school. If you were playing a video game for too long, that was worshiping a god.
Yeah.
That like anything could be worshiping a god, so long as you were willing to twist that definition hard enough. So I brought that up to this Catholic person before we ended up doing our debate, and they had to point out to me, like, hey, in Catholicism, there's 3 versions of worship. So, like, if you're a Protestant, you hear worship the Mother Mary, and it sounds like blasphemy because you're not supposed to do that, which is the argument that was given to us about not playing too many fucking video games. That was a form of blasphemy. But then when you're talking to a Catholic, they have 3 tiers of worship, and each tier of worship is for, this is for the saints, this is for the Mother Mary, this one is for Jesus. And it's the same as having different kinds of love, where you've got the love you feel for your friends, and then you've got the love you feel for your loved one, and the love you feel for a parent, and they're all different types of love. But apparently, a bunch of Protestants don't understand that nuance. They can't, for some weird reason. So you get buttfuck opinions like Oliver's here. Because again, as a kid, I was told playing Banjo fucking Kazooie for too many hours in the day was a form of worshiping a deity. No.
Meanwhile, Fennec is over here going, lemon cake.
A god! Lemon cake.
Fennec is worshiping that lemon cake. You go, Fennec. You worship that lemon cake. But anyway, the next one is not in response to this directly, but in response to an atheist saying that, like, hey, atheism means that we don't believe in God, so no, we don't have a God.
That's the point.
Yeah. So then this guy responded to that with, atheists hate what when you call it a religion because it reminds them of their deep and unshakable faith that there is no God.
Wait, hold on. Religion wasn't brought up in the original post nor in the subsequent one.
Nope.
And a deep and unshakable faith that there is no God. Then if it's a deep and unshakable faith that there is no God, then the second poster is correct.
Yeah. Well, then the first poster is incorrect, that the atheists worship a god. No, they have a deep and unshakable faith that there is no God, so that's not worshiping a god by definition.
The fuck?
But it's not a faith. It's just like
reading comprehension is dead.
Well, there's also like this gets into like this. The whole thread devolved into the definition fight. Like, oh, is an atheist someone who has the burden of proof and is making the positive claim that there are no gods? Or is it someone who just lacks a belief in God? It's like, okay, maybe for a formal debate, that's an important discussion to have before you go into the debate so that you are using terms in the same way. When it comes to a just random Twitter discussion, if somebody says, I don't believe that God exists, that is not them making a claim that they now have to defend. That is them just saying, like, when you say a God exists, I don't believe you. Like, the only time...
Can you defend that claim? Okay, yeah, I said I believe the thing.
Yeah, but the only...
So I do.
The only time you would need to defend that, though, is if you're actually trying to convince the other person. A lot of times these people are just like, yeah, no, that's not how it works. And they don't actually care whether or not you agree with them or believe the same thing as them. They're just like, yeah, no, I don't believe this. And like, if you don't care about convincing other people, then no, you don't have a burden of proof, even if you are making a positive claim. So even if you insist that atheism is the claim that there are no gods, someone can still call themselves an atheist and not care about convincing you of that. It's
just, I don't know if there is one.
Like, not everything...
I don't care.
Not everything has to be a formal debate. And that's one of the things that apologists always lose track of, is that they just are like, oh yeah, atheists nowadays are just about how, like, oh no, they don't have a positive. Well, technically they do if blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, yeah, but your average...
The positive like, claim is I don't believe the thing.
Ostensibly, these people are trying to train Christians in how to talk to atheists so they can convert them to Christianity. But like, if you convince an atheist that the definition of atheism includes an implicit positive claim, that's not going to convert them to Christianity. That's just going to be like, okay, fine. I guess I'm agnostic then. Bye.
But if you, but
Like, that's the best case scenario for the outcome of this fight.
You and I both know the quote from, I don't remember if it was Eric Hoven or Kent Hoven, where they said, "Oh, but you're not an atheist. You're agnostic, and that makes you one step closer to coming to meet my friend Jesus."
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't recall ever hearing that, but no. You know what? I know there is a God because I can do this.
Well,
That means that God loves me.
your skin is not your own.
I mean, technically, I'm just a brain that's driving a skin suit that's like powered by muscles over a skeleton.
Technically, everything is a mecha anime because we are all flesh mecha.
We are flesh mecha. Yep. Sudden and unexpected. This is the one that's going to get me the strike for medical misinformation or whatever, because YouTube's bots are notorious
is turbo
for not
cancer.
I don't fucking know. But the CDC has warned that the COVID-19 vaccines have caused at least a 14,000% increase in turbo cancer cases across the United States. According to newly released data, there has been a minimum of 6,113% increase in cancer cases among children and young adults.
Wait, how can there be a smaller percentage increase of general cancer cases and then a larger percentage increase of turbo cancer?
Well, the smaller increase was specific to children and young adults. But aside from the obvious bullshit here, I actually did a search on this. I used Google to search the entire site of the CDC's website for turbo cancer. 0 instances. No turbo cancer. The CDC has never mentioned turbo cancer.
What is turbo cancer?
I don't know. It's made up bullshit by anti-vaxxers who want to scare you away from getting the vaccine. But I looked into it. CDC hasn't even mentioned turbo cancer, so by definition, then if they haven't mentioned it, it's impossible that they have warned about it. But also, a 14,000 technically, if you increase 0 by 14,000%. It's still 0, so that's not technically incorrect. The CDC just hasn't warned about it.
Is turbo cancer like that thing that happened in the Meat Canyon video where Andy finally got Woody to talk to him in Toy Story?
I don't know what you're referencing, and I'm not sure I want to know.
And it turns out the reason that Woody never reveals himself to a human is it gives them turbo cancer. They just die within a few days. Mom said Sid ran away. No, Sid died, Andy. He died of cancer.
Fennec says, this fact came from their fucking rectum. Yeah. So, while you were talking about your Woody, I'm going pee.
Oh, Gainer says they should have kept to their bullshit lore and said turbo autism. Turbo autism. It gives you a special interest in more autism. Jesus Christ. Oh my God, what is that? Falcon Fan says the COVID-19 shot is poison. Falcon Fan, do you have any evidence to back up that claim? Do you have any evidence to back up that claim whatsoever? Any at all? First of all, poison's based on dosage anyway, so technically water is poison if you have enough of it. So getting that part out of the way, explain to me how a COVID-19 shot at the recommended dose is poison. That one I want to hear. Davinia says if there's an increase in cancers because of appointments were canceled during COVID, potentially. Falcon says, do you have any evidence to back up? It does not. So no, Falcon, this is not how this works. You made a claim that the COVID-19 vaccine is poison. I asked you to back up that claim, and you responded with effectively no. That's not how this works. If you make a claim, I want to know where it's from. And then you say that they want us all dead. No. The, quote, elites don't want us all dead because the elites only get a paycheck when we are alive. They have a vested interest in keeping us alive at least long enough to pay for their pensions before they die. Like they want us working and paying taxes, and those taxes to go into giving them cushy lives and cushy jobs. If the bottom percentile of human being dies, the upper percentile does not get to live off of the fat that we've curled. So again, what evidence do you have that the COVID-19 vaccine is poison? I'll ask again. Said the AIDS virus is man-made, COVID-19 is man-made. Okay, Falcon, that's not evidence. That's another claim.
Speaking of AIDS...
Now you need to back up the claim that the AIDS virus is man-made.
Remember when speaking of AIDS was a valid segue that I had?
Yep.
That magazine's still behind me. Rosina says, turbo cancer sounds like people not seeing the doctor until they have stage 3 or stage 4 cancer. Damn the U.S. healthcare system. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's another thing about, like, when people talk about Canadian healthcare versus U.S., like, oh, but Canadian healthcare has terrible wait times. It's like, yeah, we do have a wait time problem in Canada, but does that factor in the fact that in the States there's additional wait time from people who, like, if you don't have the money to go see the doctor, you, like, if you know there's something you need to go see the doctor for, you might have to save up for several months in order to afford to go see the doctor. Is that included in it? No, it's not, because it starts from this is when I started wanting to go see that specialist to this is when I got to see them. And if you know you need to go see a specialist, you're going to start saving for several months beforehand if you have to pay for it. So yeah, Canada has worse wait times than the US when you just look from the first time they actively sought medical intervention to when they get it. But when you add in the saving up to afford it,
yeah,
Canada's still better. We still win.
My wait time for getting my leg checked out is going to be forever.
Yeah, and then Scott Delahunt sent $5 for an...
Well, you know, I have in my hand a about 9/10 empty, so almost completely empty bottle of Tabasco, and the idea of using this as a bludgeoning device on you gets better and better every time I consider it. I need the Tabasco less and less the more times you press that button.
There have been times when I've been like, our show would be easier to do if we were like in the same room and could see each other. Today, I am happy that it's remote.
Yeah, I'm just staring at you like, you know?
If you feel like violence, shall we talk about Lauren Boebert? Some Lobos?
For legal reasons, I cannot use the word violence and an elected official in the same sentence. But yes.
Point. Yeah, okay. So Lobo says, remember when Biden handed billions to Iran? I do. It was just last year. Utter disgrace. So this was with response to Iran sending a bunch of missiles to Israel. So without getting too far into the geopolitical details here, Iran blew up an embassy Israel blew up an embassy in Iran. Big breach of international law.
Yep.
Big, huge no-no. Like, you don't do that. You don't destroy embassies. That's just, and like, that's huge. So I read a piece on this. Now, I'm going to preface this with neither myself nor Suris live in the Middle East. We do not have the life experience necessary to fully comprehend what it is like to live in the Middle East. So we are speaking based on things that we have read, stories that we have heard. Obviously, we can't speak from a personal experience aspect of this. So, like, if we get something wrong, it's like chalk it up to the fact that we don't live in the region. But like, all that being said, genocide is always bad, no matter who's doing it. When Hamas does genocide, that's bad. When Israel does genocide on Palestine, that's also bad. When Iran tries to genocide Israel, that's bad. When Israel tries to genocide Iran, that's bad. All the genocide is bad. Doesn't matter who's doing it. Doesn't matter who the victim is. Doesn't matter who the perpetrator is. It's all bad. Can we agree on that?
Probably.
Okay. So I read a piece on that was talking about the Middle East geopolitical situation, where because of the tensions between countries there, what they effectively do, like, all of them know that they can't really go to war. Because if they go to war, it'll be like, even if they technically win the war, that'll still be the end of their regime, because none of them have enough power to really beat the others, except for maybe Israel, which would then have, but like, they don't want to poke that bear, kind of. But at the same time, they have to posture as though they are willing to go to war. So essentially, you have a bunch of like people like, oh, if somebody attacks somebody else, they have to. There
They have to have a retaliatory
there
strike.
has to be retaliation, but it has to be small enough that it won't provoke all-out war.
Which is why Iran said, hey, we are going to send missiles here.
Yeah.
We are going to bomb here. Do not have people here. We are going to send a strike here. Now,
yeah, they announced it well in advance. They sent it out. We knew it was coming. They had time to prepare. Everything, like, most things were shot down. Damage was minimal, but like, they had to make it a big display because of the violation that Israel committed when they destroyed the embassy. Because that's a huge no-no. So they had to do a big retaliation, but they didn't want an actual war. So they do the big retaliation, but with a bunch of warnings so that you can prepare for it. With all of that context out of the way, the billions that Biden supposedly handed to Iran was actually billions of dollars in money that South Korea owed to Iran from buying their oil. They bought a bunch of oil from Iran and said, here's $6 billion, but it's going in these South Korean banks that don't trust your Iranian banks, so they're not going to transfer the money to you, but it is there. So Iran was desperate for the money. They really, really wanted it. And as part of a hostage negotiation, Biden got them to release a bunch of American hostages in exchange for moving the $6 billion from South Korean banks to Qatari banks, which Qatar is a Muslim nation. They're much more friendly with Iran. And so that was the deal. We are moving money that rightfully belongs to Iran because they sold a product for a price, and that, like capitalism, that's their money now. But it's stuck in South Korean banks that don't trust the Iranian banks, so they won't transfer it. So they move it to the Qatari banks, which the South Korean banks did trust, and then the Qatari banks might be able to get it to Iran. But right after that move happened, and the United States got their hostages back, there was some other, I forget exactly what the details are here, but there was other geopolitical stuff that happened that caused Biden to renege on the deal a little bit. So they agreed with Qatar to say, we're going to put a freeze on this money so Iran can't access it. So yes, it's Iran's money that has been moved to a place that would be more accessible to Iran if it weren't frozen, but it is, and to this day, currently, it is still frozen. So Iran does not have access to that money. But the Republicans want you to think that this was Joe Biden directly funding Iran's attack on Israel. But that's just not what happened.
Added context changes everything.
Yeah, and needless to say, all that doesn't fit in a tweet. God damn it, Jassa. Let's see, do I have any new hats? Oh, the octopus, I haven't done that yet.
Specious says, I just know the nearest Whataburger is over 100 miles from me, and that's the one they keep flashing. Man, I want Whataburger. Whataburger's great, and I would drive. I have driven 100 miles for Whataburger. I'm not saying it was a smart thing to do, but I have done it.
What?
Driven 100 miles for Whataburger.
For a Whataburger? Ugh.
Yeah.
I can't see a burger being that good.
It's so that realistically, I was going to visit family, and Whataburger happens to be at the place I grew up. Okay. So the family was a nice icing on the cake to the Whataburger.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's the geopolitical context to the stupid thing that Lauren Boebert tweeted. Oh, case orbs.
Yay.
I don't remember if I covered this last time. I feel like we did, but it's always good. So Sorbo says, if illegals aren't voting in our elections, why do you care if we make it illegal? It's already illegal, Sorbo. It's already illegal for that to happen.
You already have to be a United States citizen to vote in a United States election.
Oh, I forget where I read it. it was a reputable source, but still double check this one for yourself. But I seem to recall that there was something like in the last 20 years, there have been a grand total of 85 instances of an illegal immigrant faking stuff to vote in an election. So like 85 instances in 20 years. That's not enough to turn an election. So this whole, oh, they're letting illegals in so they'll vote for Biden. That's bullshit. Like, first off, there's no guarantee that an illegal immigrant will vote for Biden in the first place. Secondly, like, how, like, there would have to be an incentive for them to do it. Like, they're not just going to do, because, like, voting as an illegal immigrant is a crime. You get caught with that, you get deported, you get sent back to your country. These people are coming here because they don't want to get sent back to their country. So, like, there has to be enough of an incentive there to encourage them to actually do that. And there's not. Republicans can't point to one. It's just a bullshit talking point. Like we discussed last week, immigrants are actually really, really good for the economy, so you should just fucking let them in. The main objection I've seen to that is people talking about how, like, oh, well, Sweden let a bunch of immigrants in, and their gang crime went off the charts. First off, that's not entirely true. There is a part of it, like there is a kernel of truth there, where there has been an increase in gang violence in Sweden since about 2000, and it is tied to immigration, but it's tied to immigration in the sense that the gangs are targeting low-income, vulnerable communities,
which happen to be the immigrant
if
communities.
If you don't provide for the immigrants, if you don't if you marginalize a community and then tell them this is how you can make some extra money by, is like what's happening is they're targeting kids, because under Swedish law, if you're like under, I think it's 16, and you commit a violent crime like killing someone, you aren't held to anywhere near the same account as an adult. So they're getting kids to do these like drive-by shootings and shit for them, and they're paying them a lot of money to do it. And because they're desperate, they're taking these jobs. It's not because immigrants are dangerous. It's because they're desperate. You make them not desperate, and you protect yourself against that. Rosina says case orbs is virtue signaling. Absolutely.
So, Falcon fan in the chat who said illegal immigration is good for the economy. That sounds dumb as fuck. Come to my black community and say that shit. So I grew up in a black community. I grew up in Montclair in Pensacola, which is the drug ghetto in Pensacola, functionally. One of them, anyway. There were a few. So I can tell you that saying, tell that to the people in my community, it doesn't mean anything. I grew up in that community too. Doesn't mean shit. For two, I'll just go ahead and take a quote from the Associated Press. Many economists suggest that immigrants benefit the United States economy in several ways. They take generally undesirable, low-paying, but essential jobs that most United States-born Americans won't, like caring for children, the sick, and the elderly. They can boost a country's innovation and productivity because they are more likely to start their own business and obtain patents. I'm sorry, but
they're projected to add $7 billion to the economy in the next 10 years.
Not only do economists not agree with your take, but as somebody who also grew up in the ghetto, I don't give a shit about that take. So
Zalrock Vod says, glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. Yes, I'm rooting for Ukraine. I don't think there's any glory in war, though. But yeah, no. But I also, like, I did a little bit of digging into like per capita crime rates. United States beats Sweden hands down in every gun-related crime, every gang-related crime, every violent crime. The only one that Sweden had a higher per capita rate was rape, which, that fucking sucks. I don't know how you would tie that to immigration, aside from relying on tired old stereotypes that aren't actually true. But like, and it's not by a little either. It's like Sweden's per capita violent gun death rate is something like 0.0 or like 0.4 per 1,000 people. And in the States, it's 6. Like, it's not a little difference. So like, to say, oh, Sweden let immigrants in and the situation got worse for them. It's like, well, worse for them is still like 5 times better than it is in the States.
If it's 0.4 versus 6, that's like 12 times better.
Okay, sure, 12 times. I don't know. This
Yay, math!
I can't do math on the top of my head. What the fuck do you think I am?
This city was built on math.
Rosina says rape is vastly underreported in the U.S. Yeah, that could be a thing as well.
I would assume so, but I don't know enough about the culture for other countries.
Yeah, I'm not
to say whether or not it's any more or less underreported here.
Yes, I'm not going to assume that Sweden has a higher report level without looking into that first. So, like, I didn't really look into that because most people focus on things like gun crimes.
Yeah, gun crime's easier to track. There's a bullet hole.
Mm-hmm. Okay, someone sent another tip through Stream Elements, and I need to look into why my notifications stopped working the way they used to.
You see here,
activity feed. Oh, that was just. No, I'm just getting super chats, tips. I don't know.
Oh, Fritz, it is legal to have a gun in Sweden. They treat guns like cars. You can have a gun so long as you have a license to have a gun, and you can get that as early as 18 years of age.
No, that was Anonymous sent 420 and said Myanmar, I always pronounce it wrong. Myanmar's military dictatorship is losing, PogChamp. Which I'm not sure what that means. I know Myanmar is the example of like when I say I don't want any religion to have political control, often atheists will defend what they see as the peaceful religions like Buddhism. But if you go to Myanmar, the Buddhists took power and were like, yeah, no, we're going to kill all the non-Buddhists. Well, not all the non-Buddhists, but I think it was specifically Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
If you kiss Suris, the curse will be lifted. What curse? I didn't know we were cursed.
There's a curse?
It's the curse of the...
Well.
So, yeah.
You know what? In a few months, you're going to be within striking distance of me, right?
No? Are you coming to Canada?
I am going to be going up north. I'll be close enough to make the jump.
We'll have to get together and like do a stream from a Starbucks or something, because I'm not sure I want you to know where my house is right now.
I don't know if I want to do a stream with a body.
Daughter of Wolves. Daughter of Wolves says birth control literally makes women bi as well as more likely to be attracted to effeminate men.
What?
I mean, no.
I don't think that's how sexuality works.
No, it's not. But like also, even if it did, would that... Why is that a bad thing? Like, my partner is bi. I'm happy with that.
My partner's bi too. I'm pretty cool with that.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with a bi woman.
Like, I don't see the problem. I don't where's the negative here?
Well, sir, we only don't see the problem because we're beta cucks.
Yes.
We're effeminate beta cucks.
I mean, the most beta thing called having a threesome with two women. Yes, the noted beta behavior. You're right.
I mean, you could argue that me wearing women's lingerie on a semi-regular basis on my main channel is kind of like effeminate behavior. But maybe it's an alpha move. I'm showing my dominance by making you watch my ass. I don't know. But anyway,
do it with gusto.
Yeah, so that's all bullshit. But what I found really funny about this was I clicked on her profile to just kind of see who she was. She has 6,666 followers.
Oh, it's Satan.
Yeah, I love it.
Thanks, Satan.
I just love that I happened to click on her profile while she had that many followers. And she's Catholic. And the only people I've ever met in real life that are actually bothered by the scary 666 number were Catholic. Like, I used to work with a lady who was at a restaurant. And so at the end of the night, if we took a bunch of cash payments, we would have a cash drop that we'd have to leave. So, like, we pay the cash that we owe the restaurant and we take the rest home as our tips or whatever. My cash drop one night was $666. right on the money. No pennies, no cents, no nothing. It was $666. The Catholic lady that I worked with, who I was on friendly terms with, we always chatted, we had a good time or whatever. We had I considered us to be friendly. She refused to go anywhere near me for the rest of the night. She wouldn't walk out with me to the car. Like,
Hey,
it was
Satan.
like, kept her distance from me. And like, I thought she was joking at first, but like, no, she was dead fucking serious. She would not go near me because I had $666 was my drop.
Jesus Christ. Fritz says the furry looks at you and says only 2 women. Yeah, look, I've done it. It is a less enjoyable experience the more people you start piling in.
Snakes beg to differ.
I'm not a snake.
Donald Jaramillo says 6666 is the number of the 4-dimensional beast.
Oh,
yeah,
fair enough.
That's another thing. Like, I considered not even taking the screenshot because, like, yeah, it's 6,666. It's not 666, so it's not even the evil number. It's the evil number plus 6,000. But that's never stopped the Christians from freaking out when they see a bunch of 6s in a row.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that if you look at the older manuscripts, the more reliable ones, the number was actually 616. So
don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. You'll shatter their worldview. They got to be scared of something.
I mean, it's also a numerological reference to Emperor Nero, like very clearly. Like that's very well documented in the scholarship on the matter. And Jassa got there. Jassa was just making the same point as me. Yeah, no, they didn't like Nero. So like Nero was the beast in that, because like the ancient Christians thought that they were the last generation, as has every generation of Christians since then. So
the end times is coming.
The end is
I
nigh.
swear. The end times is coming.
I just edited together my playlist of my response to Ellen White's book from the 1850s, where like it's a The End is Nigh book from the 1850s that is still in print by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, that they're still distributing it and saying this was a very wise woman who knew what she was talking about. Meanwhile, what she was talking about was how the world was going to end within her lifetime.
But
over 150 years ago. So
Jesus Christ is the king of edging, I swear to God.
Yeah.
He's always coming. The second coming is coming. He swears.
Maybe he accidentally ordered those condoms that like have a numbing effect to make guys last longer. And that's why the second coming is taking so long.
He just sat there with like a thread and went, if I tie this around my dick, I'll come slower. The thread of destiny. The second coming will last forever.
He's doing that thing where like if you like squeeze the base of the penis and push in on the like on your perineum, you can like come backwards inside yourself or whatever, apparently. I don't know. I've never successfully done that. Though, to be fair, I haven't tried that hard.
You said hard.
I did say hard, yes.
You did say hard. Dale says, after being nailed so hard by Romans, Jesus can only come with pegging. Look, the dude was hung like this. He was nailed by a bunch of Romans in front of everyone, including his mom. I don't want to know the kinds of kink he was into.
I have a video about that on my main channel. I forget what it's called. I'll leave a card when I edit this down. Let's see. Vice Rhino. I wonder if searching for Vice Rhino Kinky is that. Yep. It's called The Lord Works in the Kinkiest Ways. And it's a response to J. Warner Wallace.
Jesus Christ was a carpenter, so he's an expert with wood.
Yep. And he wants to come inside your heart.
Let Jesus inside me.
Jesus wants to come inside you. He hung around with 12 guys and 1 prostitute.
In the desert, even. The Hare Desert nights get awfully cold. And they had to stay warm somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to make them fishers of men.
Yep.
Does that make Jesus the original pickup artist?
Maybe.
Steampunk Hasselon goes, you can what with your perineum? Oh yeah, Baba, you're right. Jesus was into feet stuff.
Well, remember how we were talking earlier about how wild the untamed internet of the 90s was?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where, like, at some point I was, like, looking for masturbation techniques other than just doing this a bunch. And that was one of them, is that, like, you squeeze the base of your penis and squish in on your perineum and you will come backwards, and apparently it feels really good.
No, it does not.
I've never successfully done it, so I will take your word for it.
It just, all it does is it stops it from coming out as much, and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like when there's more, it feels better.
Yeah, no, well, you like, if you want it to feel better, the trick is edging. That is the secret, everybody. That is the secret. Do the sex but longer before you come. That is the secret. That's all it is. All of the hours, weeks of research you did as a teenager, fuck it all, except don't.
Yeah, but sometimes you only got 5 minutes before the kids get home from school, and you just need to take care of it.
And you know what? That's different. That's a different situation entirely.
Right, also, want to stay alive longer? Don't die.
And mind the prostate.
All right. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me,
Member of the
Suris.
Semen Retention Society.
Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Nixie Chan, the Oberon team, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.